from the first prompt that we talked about, which was the biggest problem in Baltimore, right? Which is where you had to figure out what you thought was the biggest problem in Baltimore. So as I'm reading this to you, I want you to focus on if I touch all these aspects, all right? And then afterwards, we're going to talk about what you noticed in this essay, okay? So what I need you guys to do is focus on what I'm reading, think about things you want to say, things about you notice, and then we'll come back to the group. Got it good?
Got it good.
Poverty in Baltimore. There are many significant problems that exist in the city of Baltimore. However, in my opinion, the most significant problem in Baltimore is poverty. There are many consequences of poverty, and these will be used to show the significance of the problem in this essay. So that was my introduction. I want you to think about what I did in that introduction. What were some of the things that I did in that introduction? Who noticed something? What did you see, Taiwan? And then Joseph. Do you think I answered the prompt, Joseph? The prompt of what do you think is the biggest problem in Baltimore? Did I or did I not? Say that again? Yeah, What did I do in that introduction part? And then I'll call on Mark. I told the reader what the problem was, right? And I clearly explained what the problem was. Mark, what else did I do in the introduction?
You put what the essay was going to be about?
Right, I told the reader what the essay was going to be about. I introduced the reader to what I was going to talk about. Maurice and then Amadou.
You told him what theme it was?
I talked about the theme or the subject of poverty. What were you going to say,
I
Amadou?
told them, like, in your opinion, that biggest problem is...
Yeah, I didn't make it a secret what my opinion was, right? Because it's an opinion essay, so I want my reader to know exactly what I'm talking about. Devin, make sure you're in a seat. Thank you. So now I'm getting into the body of my essay. So I just got to this introduction, this first paragraph. Now I've got 3 paragraphs where I'm giving arguments for why I think poverty is the most important essay. Stick with me, Keontae. One reason why poverty is the most significant problem in Baltimore is because so many Baltimoreans are the victims of poverty. In 2013, 27% of Baltimoreans were in poverty. The fact that this many people were in poverty show how rampant the problem is in Baltimore. There are few other problems that affect such a large population of people in Baltimore. So that's my second paragraph. Do people feel like I gave a good enough reason to make that whole paragraph? What do you think over at this table? Do you think it was clear enough to the reader what my reason was? Okay, so now I'm coming up with a completely different reason for this third one. Willie, go ahead.
What's poverty?
Poverty is being extremely poor. And there's a way that economists can measure that. So it's based off of how much money you make in a year. Another reason why poverty is the most significant problem in Baltimore is because poverty has such a strong effect on the lives of children. Poverty means that children will have fewer resources, and as a result, these children may not be able to have the types of childhoods that they deserve. So what was my reason in that paragraph? What did I use to make the argument in that paragraph? Maurice, did you hear? Did you hear Henry? What was my reason in this third paragraph?
You said that because some military, they're not going to have a great life as a child because they're poor.
Right, because it has such a strong influence on children. Do you think that is a strong enough?
Like when some kids poor, and then I said like a sport, when they get older, they make it something and then not poor.
Right, thank you for sharing. Make sure you raise your hand next time you down there, okay? So I'm telling the reader that I think because poverty has such a strong effect on children, guys, this is gonna stop. Because poverty has such a strong effect on children, it has a really big influence on the city as a whole, okay? So now we're going to my fourth paragraph, my third reason, my third argument. Poverty's connection to hunger is another reason that shows how poverty is the most significant problem in Baltimore. There is a direct link to hunger. if people in poverty are hungry, how can they perform well at work or in school? Clearly, hunger has a strong influence on a person's performance. So that was my last paragraph where I talked about my arguments. Now I'm getting to my conclusion. Before I read it, who has an idea of what a conclusion should be like? What do you think, Ariana?
Conclusion, it should sum up like the whole meeting.
Absolutely, it sums up what you were talking about. What else? Who has another idea of what a good conclusion should have? What do you think, Mark?
You said conclusion?
Yeah, what is a good conclusion? What do you feel like exists in a good conclusion?
It's like when you know like what happens because you don't take care of it.
Okay, so give me an example of what that would be.
Like in this essay,
Uh-huh.
like if people didn't like donate to other people didn't donate money
Uh-huh.
to like charities. Yeah, charities.
Okay, good. So it's also giving maybe some strategies to fix a problem in an example like this. Good. You're also trying to leave the reader with a lasting impression, because your conclusion is your last opportunity to make an impression on the reader. So think about that when I'm reading my conclusion, and I want you to tell me honestly if you think that I did a good job of leaving a good, lasting impression on the reader. It's clear that poverty is a major problem in Baltimore, the most significant problem in Baltimore. But there are things we can do to address the problem. People can volunteer their time to help those in need. Also, people can donate food to people who are hungry. Hopefully we can all work together to fix the problem. Ladies, make sure we're not talking. Good. So how do people feel about that conclusion?
I think it was good because it informed us not like to give money like that's anything.
Right. And you think it'll maybe help the reader think about poverty more the next time they're in Baltimore, or if they live in Baltimore? Thank you, Stephen. Make sure you raise your hand next time, though. Willie, what do you think?
It tells you like the whole story overall, like what you basically trying to say.
Right. It sort of reminds the reader of what I've already talked about, brings those ideas back. What do you think, Kaiwan? I saw your hand raised. Did Willie say what you were going to say? So one of the things that I'm going to give you today is a sheet that I made that's going to help you organize your conclusion. And it's going to remind you that you need a summary statement that's either 1 or 2 sentences that restates your argument that you said at the beginning of your essay. And it's also going to have a final thought that creates that lasting impression on the reader that we were talking about. The other thing that I'm going to give you before I let you guys get to work is an organizer or an outline for your entire essay. So I'm not going to require anybody to do this, but I am going to give everybody one of these because I think it's really going to help with your brainstorming and the organization of your
Excuse
paragraph.
the interruption. Master validation training will take place between 8 and 12 today. If you plan to participate in training, please send a note down to the main office so I can determine where training will take place. Again, please send a note to the main office. Thank you.
1, 2, 3, eyes on me. Thank you. So one of the things that we're really trying to focus on with this essay is making sure that each one of our paragraphs has one main idea and details and arguments and reasons to support that main idea. So this organizer is really going to help us make sure that we only have one main idea per paragraph. Get it? Got it good? When I say go, I'd like everyone on the carpet to quietly move back to their tables. Go. Before when? So I should see folks moving back to their assigned seats. Thank you, Leanna. Thank you, Willie. Thank you, Kaiwan. Once you're at your seat, you can get out your materials to work on your essay. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Micaiah, for getting out your materials. Thank you, Matthew. Yep, they were
What were you saying?
But then